Okay, hi, this is Frantz Kantor here again, and I'm a cartoonist and a caricaturist and an illustrator and an artist and all of these things. Today I'm doing a little exercise, something from my childhood. I've done a little sort of thumbnail, trying to work out some shapes here.
Abbott!
Yeah, well, let's have a look. It's this guy. That's Lou Costello, half of the Abbott Costello team, you know. I always think that we were going to be lucky. We were going to have an Abbott and Costello government for the first time in the world. And I was so proud. And then I had a good look at them and I thought, not even for that. Not even for that. No, it's not worth it. Get better people called Abbott and Costello.
Hello, my name's Jim Bridges and I'm the president of the Australian Cartoon Museum. And here we are in downtown Docklands, Melbourne. Mm-hmm. And Frantz is going to do his daily drawing.
My daily drawing.
Give us this day our daily drawing.
So, Abbott and Costello I grew up with. Did you grow up with Abbott and Costello?
And forgive him his trespasses, because he may not always get it.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Amen.
I'm not Catholic.
Thus endeth the lesson.
In nomine Patris Spiritus Sancti.
Amen. Yes, I loved Abbott and Costello. I think every kid did.
He's just like a big kid, really, isn't he? He's like a little baby, pudgy kid that, you know, little kid brother.
Yeah.
And the big brother, of course, was Abbott.
Yeah, who I didn't like at all.
No, I don't like him. I didn't like him when he was Prime Minister either. But
you're not the only one.
But the character of Costello is very, very innocent and childish. And that's part of their patter, their stagecraft, was to develop this sort of ignorance, an ignoramus. You want to see what an ignoramus looks like? Here he is. No, he was very sort of cute. Women loved him, I think. But it was very attractive as a personality for kids because he looks and acts like a bit of a baby, right? He has that.
Right.
Hey, Abbot! You know, which is more actually not from the show or from the stage show. It's more from the cartoon. So this is people doing Abbott Costello.
No, but they were doing stuff on, you know, vaudeville many years ago, you know. It's before cartoons took off.
Yeah. All right, well, maybe. But I haven't seen Hey Abbott as a trope from their movies. I've only ever seen it in the cartoon.
It was on the... Well, I saw it.
Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Okay. Oh, here it is.
So Warner Brothers did a couple of films of Abbott and Costello as well. They did a film called...
Well, they did the horror films, didn't they? Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein and...
What, Warner Brothers?
Oh, no, they wouldn't have done it because they didn't own the rights.
No. They didn't own the rights. It's Universal.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, that's a legitimate.
That's a universal fact. I should have known that.
Mm.
Anyway, look.
I had them.
You're carrying on looking at that, and you need to get drawing here.
The Tale of Two Kitties. You check that out. That's a 1942.
Yes.
There's quite a few catchphrases.
They were used a lot in cartoons.
Yeah.
MGM
and
cartoons,
course,
all of them.
Yeah, and Who's on First, of course, the famous routine. So basically, you know, Costello, I've done this little thumbnail of Costello. We'll talk about this in a sec. This looks kind of like a pudgy lima bean, and with an ear, with a tumor. So it's kind of like that, sort of like this beautiful shape, you know, kidney shape. That's what we're looking for. In the reference, we're going to go over some of the things that they got up to as well. There's Hollywood photographs, studio shots were beautifully lit. You know, they had a lot of side lights and things, fill lights and all that. It's really professional. So, but basically, you've got a shadow area that would conform to the bottom right-hand side of the object because the main light, is coming up from the left or coming in from the left. So you've got a lot of shadow in that area, and of course the main centre of our our attention is going to be with the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, which is they form this sort of mask configuration. Now, why is this important for a likeness? Is because we zero in on this. So anything to do with the relations, we match proportions in microseconds, like a computer. Ching, 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 and we kind of create a relevance. We recognize the features from their relative position and measurements and things from each other. So it's very important to focus on that area, and that's our central focal point. We're going to be looking at that. We're going to be working on toned paper. You can use any kind of toned paper. This is sort of a greyish, a warm grey.
Strathmore,
which is actually a bit rare at the moment. I broke my pencil. So, pencils you have to pay for. The pigment's very important. They're quite expensive. Pencils are about $3 Australian each. But we're using like a terracotta brown pencil, a black pencil, and I'm not having much luck with this pencil. I don't think this is going to... I think it's sometimes the lead breaks inside the wood.
especially when you drop them.
Yeah, and you drop them. And that's what happens. So Prismacolors are quite a soft pencil. We've also got Polychromo, which is a little bit of a harder pencil. So I've used these more for years, Polychromos. But we do have like Prismacolors, so we'll be using that. We'll be using probably a white paint pen, a Posca, and we'll be using maybe a black Posca for some areas just to help out.
I don't think you can give him a black background.
So, I don't know, maybe. What's your experience of Abbott Costello? The first film that I ever saw was Abbott Costello Meet Frankenstein. It's still my favourite out of all of the Abbott Costello.
It's funny you say that, it's mine too, and it's actually the only classic horror film that I ever got scared at. I wasn't scared at but I was scared. There's a scene where they're on a...
island.
No, they're on
island?
A jetty or something.
Oh, that's the end.
Yeah, and I was incredibly scared. I just thought they're never going to get out of this. This is really frightening, you know. Yeah,
interesting. That had a like the Invisible Man was on a boat. This is a spoiler. I hope you don't mind these spoilers. Invisible Man.
How do you know he was on a boat?
Because he's rowing.
Ah.
And I don't know, but his voice was there. And it was Vincent Price's voice, of course. And he was the Invisible Man.
He has to be the Invisible Man, yeah.
Well, he was in the second movie, The Invisible Man Returns. He wasn't the...
But his voice is pretty famous.
Yeah, and that's,
Even in movies like what? Like, I'm just trying to think. Laura, even in Laura, which is not a horror movie...
Laura. You mean Rebecca?
No, Laura.
I haven't seen that.
He plays a... It's a...
Western.
No, it's not. It's...
Eastern.
It's...
What is it?
Anyway, he plays a rich, spoiled guy who wants to...
in the snowfields.
Who wants to marry Laura.
A lot of jumpers.
This character who actually... What, you don't know anything about Laura?
I've seen it. It's in colour.
No, it's not. It's in black and white.
Well, then I haven't seen it.
Oh.
There's one where he walks around in a jumper and it's in colour.
No, he's what I'm talking about is his voice.
Let's stop and do Vincent Price. Why don't we do that?
Because the price is right.
Yeah, we could make jokes about that. Yeah. His voice is very, very distinctive.
Yes, my point.
And that's the important thing with Vincent Price. So
and
that's
so
why
has this guy's got a very distinctive voice.
Yeah.
Abbott.
Yeah. So that's actually from. There's a beautiful scene in the beginning of Abbott Costello Meet Frankenstein, It's towards the beginning. There's a nicer scene in the post office, actually, where I won't talk about the post office. We'll talk about the scene that I was going to talk about. Let's talk about that. They deliver the Frankenstein monster and Dracula for an exhibit in a horror house, and of course they're not dead. Frankenstein's nearly dead. He's sort of drained of energy.
He's nearly dead.
Nearly dead.
That'd be a great title for a film. Frankenstein is nearly dead. A lot of people go to see why he's nearly dead, or is he? You know, I get onto it.
There's a beautiful pantomime scene of.
Do you use these ones for small drawings?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
For thumbnails.
Okay.
They're thumbnail sized. So.
That's a great photo. That's a great photo.
There's a beautiful.
You can't stuff this one up. You can't
photos.
stuff this one up. It's a great
there's
photo.
a lot of detail there. You know?
Yeah.
Hollywood photos are really the best.
Yeah.
They're used for portrait photographers. Study the masters, like Vermeer and Rembrandt and that, but they also study the photographic masters, the stage masters from the bygone era of Hollywood. So why is that interesting for a cartoonist or a caricaturist? Well, it's all to do with staging and visual language, you know.
But also getting the best quality source material.
As much as you can, yeah. The more you see, the more you can play with. So it's just giving you the right sort of approach and tool set. Anyway, the scene I was talking about was where Frankenstein, where Dracula slowly comes alive in the coffin, and I think his chick. You know, the Abbott is this sort of a what's his name chick in the film.
Yeah.
And
he does this bit where because he can't get it out. He's that scared. He's like, he just couldn't get it out.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful. But the drama created by the one and only Bela Lugosi is brilliant.
The one and only Bela Lugosi.
Glenn Strange played the monster. They didn't use Boris Karloff. But Glenn Strange is no stranger to the horror
I've never heard of him. Who is he?
I think he did the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, okay.
He was inside.
Did he actually have a voice?
No.
Oh, he just lumbered around. He just lumbered around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they had like a really interesting sound effect for the creature. This sort of really cool. I remember I was very excited about the sound of the creature, not just the picture of the creature or the design of the creature, which I thought, by the way, kudos to Universal. No one's been able to do a fish monster anywhere as cool as the creature from the Black Lagoon. Anyway, getting back to...
even Marilyn Monroe was impressed with that film.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Is there a punchline, or is it she
comes out of that movie.
No, she doesn't.
Yes, she comes out of that movie, and that's when her dress blows up. Because she felt sorry for she felt sorry for the creature of the.
Oh, yeah. What was that film?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, good.
You should know.
So.
Anyway, she felt sorry for the
yeah,
creature.
I remember the scene.
Are we going to get some muscles in the face here? We're going to get some
muscles,
fleshy face here.
So I'll talk to you a little bit about this. Very few.
Pudgy. He is pudgy, isn't he? He's very.
Well, no. Again, you make a mistake. You think he's pudgy. He's not pudgy. He's muscular.
Well, that's what I asked you in the first place. But you didn't answer me, so I said pudgy, and you fell into my trap.
Who's on first? He's not pudgy. You can tell with the muscles on his face. Everything is sort of really tightly wound together over the skull.
Actually, in all those monster movies, because he's so short, he's very short. He's very boxy, you know.
Yeah.
And he'd always just dip down. He used that a lot to get out of trouble, just dip down, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, the monsters were always tall and all that, and they just grab mechanically, and he'd just get out of their things. But just
Yeah.
in a quicker time, you know. Actually,
He's a very physical actor.
Both Bud Abbott and Lou Costello came to Australia in the 50s.
Right, never known.
And
never
they
knew that.
were at the TAA press room,
Right.
Trans-Australian Airlines press room, because it had TAA on the back curtains.
Right.
And my brother worked at TAA at the time, and they found out in advance that these guys were coming. So my brother...
This is a filmmaker.
Well, he
Had a camera.
He had a 9.5 camera, which was like home movie type camera.
Yeah.
And he took it in and he stood between the television cameras and the newsreel cameras, and it's all set up with lights and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was talking to Bud Abbott, and Bud Abbott was doing all these sort of
Voices.
no, pulling his face just for my brother. Whereas, because my brother was actually, you know, they were having a little sparring match with jokes and stuff.
Right.
And Lou just sort of sat around with that look on his face he has, like he doesn't live in the now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He always looks like he's somewhere else, and he doesn't have that concentration. He always looks like he's somewhere else.
He had a tragedy in his life that occupied his thoughts quite a lot. His son died in a pool.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That really upset him, and he never really recovered from that.
How old was his son?
He was a toddler.
Okay. It's funny, when you were drawing the Three Stooges, we talked about slapping him around and all that sort of stuff. He got slapped around a lot by
Abbott.
And I always felt sorry for him, but I never felt sorry for any of the Stooges, which is interesting.
Yeah. For years we were wondering what's it like
that's
to be
because
slapped
he
around
probably
by
didn't,
Abbott. Then we found out.
How did we find out?
How did we find out?
Anyway, you see, he never fought back.
No. Because he was a child. He was he was that child. You get slapped by your parent.
I think
and Abbott looked older than him. I don't know if he was really older than him, but he looked older than him. So he looked almost like he's a parent and a child dynamic, and that's what interested me as a kid, because it was like looking at your childhood, your parent relationship with, or your relationship with your father.
Yeah.
Is it anywhere near as dynamic
and
as
also
this?
he had that frustration that you have when you're young, because
you mess things up.
Your parents
you make
say,
mistakes.
"Oh, look, you don't know. You'll have to wait till you grow up before
you don't know the meaning of words."
You'll have to grow.
Expressions.
Wait till you grow up to understand the situation.
Exactly, like innuendo. They played on this in their stage shows. Like Susquehanna Hats, which is a great.
Do you want to say that word again?
Susquehanna Hats, which is a great sketch, and of course the.
Has it got something to do with hats?
Yeah.
Got something to do with Susquehanna?
Susquehanna.
What's that?
It's like an Indian Dutch word or something.
Okay.
Anyway,
an Indian Dutch word.
Yeah, the Dutch. The Dutch Indians.
Yeah, I remember the. Oh God.
So I don't know. New York was settled by the Dutch. Who knows what it actually means? All this stuff, but. He's.
I thought that Peter Stuyvesant was a cigarette.
And Rothman.
No, he was British. Yeah.
Going off topic here.
Looks nice so far. You haven't made a mistake yet. I love it when he stops. I can hear his brain ticking over when the pen stops.
So. Another thing I wanted to mention too, like you'll see a lot of this, I try to keep away from smudging, dirtying up the drawing. So a lot of this is based on pen style. This is sort of what they call hatching, and this is cross-hatching. Simple, yeah? But you use that to some extent, to a great extent actually, in pencil drawings, and it just makes it look more organic.
More smudgy.
Well, it performs a couple of functions. One, it tends to hide a lot of the, working pencil lines.
Yes.
And also, it gives you a halftone help with the halftone, so to create a gradual build-up of dark tones.
I take it that you don't like using...
feels texturally like skin.
I take it that you don't like using... what's that burnt wood stuff called?
Charcoal.
Charcoal. I take it because that's very smudgy.
I don't mind charcoal.
It's very smudgy.
Yeah, I don't like charcoal as a rule. It's not really you can't rule with it.
No,
it's not a very good implement.
Do you always carry that joke as a rule?
No.
Oh, good.
We have to stop with this innuendo. The whole thing about
with the innuendos.
Yeah.
Out. And
the thing with Costello, let's talk about who's on first. I mean, it's kind of their famous routine together.
Well, you're obsessed with it.
Yeah, and it's based on the childish misinterpretation of sayings. And, a lot of people assume, like children assume things, right? And, parents use technical expressions.
They're taught things. You're taught things, and so...
But you're not taught...
The first time you hear... It's like I was taught in English that every word you pronounce, that's how you spell it.
Yeah.
Right? And the same lesson... the nun asked, how do you spell lamb? And I put my hand up and
L-A-M.
L-A-M. And she said, "Nut, wrong." And, I was just crushed because that's how you say it.
Yeah.
So that's how a child is.
But did you actually think it was like that? It was spelled like that? Or
yeah, because she just told me. She just told me in the same lesson that how you pronounce things is how you spell them. But it's not true in English because, like, it's true in Italian.
I call bullshit.
Pardon?
I call bullshit.
What?
I think...
No, there's because English is made up of so many different languages, it has all these exceptions. And one of them is like the French, you don't pronounce the last letter. You don't pronounce it,
Yeah.
So Louis in English is Louis.
Louis. Yeah. It's a very... Okay, so the routines that they used to do were based on the the childish idea of not knowing what terms mean, these technical terms, misinterpretation and innuendo, and
keep drawing.
A sense of innocence, childhood.
Yeah, but in what's on first?
Who's on first? What's on second? I don't know who's on third.
But you see, the point is, the childlike person thinks, well, who is a person, what is something, and...
Eventually.
Yeah.
But in the start, you don't know what's going on. You're confused because he's confused about the whole premise. Here you've got a baseball team of people that have names that shouldn't be there. They don't make sense.
When I first saw that routine a couple of times, I didn't know what the hell they were talking about because I didn't know about baseball. I didn't know about first base,
you don't
second
need
base,
to know
third.
about baseball.
Yeah, but it took me... Well, maybe I was just naive,
But if it was about cricket, would you know about that?
No.
Why?
I still don't know what a silly wicket is, or a googly, or...
Leg before wicket, LBW.
I know what that is. I went out many times with LBW.
You know why? Because when they say LBW, they always say leg before wicket. It's like they're talking to an idiot. LBW, ooh, leg before wicket.
Where did you get that high elfin voice from?
From high elfins.
Oh, high elfin.
Yeah.
High elfin.
You go to the zoo and
so
see the high elfins.
Finish your little essay on what's on second.
No. Who's on first? That's
I'm
right.
waiting. I'm ready for you, mate.
I got laid a trap
I'm ready
there.
for you, mate.
So, who's on first, what's on second, I don't know, who's on third. It's one of their routines. It's based on the innocence of the childish idea that words are supposed to mean what they're supposed to mean.
There's vicious rumours going around that they never wrote it.
I'm not sure about that.
It
but
was like
there
an
is
old routine in vaudeville.
Yeah.
And they just brought it back up and polished it up a bit.
Ah. See, I don't even
That's
know
the
that.
vicious
I'm not
rumour.
sure
That's
about
the vicious rumour.
Yeah. I don't know about that,
He's
but
got lovely eyes.
I think they had a writer.
He's got lovely eyes. I hope you don't stuff up the eyes. He's got lovely eyes in the photo. You can ask him to leave at any moment.
Leave it any moment.
Well, I remember the last film I saw them at the Pictures
Yeah.
was, what was it? It was in colour,
Yeah.
and it was Jack and a Beanstalk. And it was a terrible film, and I
Yeah.
felt sorry because they were getting old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And not just that, but
when
it
your
wasn't
heroes get
funny.
old, it's sort of disappointing because we had early television. We were one of the first people in the street to have a TV. So I saw their TV shows, plus I'd seen their early movies.
Yeah. So they had.
So then when I actually went to the Pictures myself, there weren't too many movies around of theirs anymore. Like they had the Three Stooges at the Pictures and, the little short films and stuff, but
Yeah.
because, in their career, I mean, they started off doing shorts, I think. They
Yeah.
did shorts when they started off, but that's early. And we didn't have those films at the Pictures. So the last time I saw them, they looked pretty old and,
Yeah. Yeah. I remember. I haven't seen that in the pictures. I saw it on TV, but
Yeah.
I was very upset as well.
What, for the same reason, because
Yeah.
they looked...
Yeah. He was in a film, I think, The 50-Foot Bride of Candy Rock or something, where he appeared without Abbott. I quite liked that.
Who did he play? Himself?
The hero character, the little...
The hero? He played the hero?
Yeah.
Okay. The what's it called again? The
50-Foot Bride of Candy Rock. It's sort of a
How
sci-fi...
could you forget a title like that?
It's sort of a sci-fi film.
I loved it when he put his finger under his chin and sort of twisted on his foot while he did it.
Yeah, well,
love that.
kind of like a little 3-year-old.
That's right.
But that was that. The whole thing was based on that.
Yeah.
Costello played this simple character, and
Well, he was always ripping him
bamboozled
off.
by
He was always ripping him off in cards and all sorts of stuff.
yeah.
He said, "Have you got $1? Yeah, I've got $1. Give me the $1. Well, what do you want me to? Give me the $1. Give me the $1. Well, then he'd give him the $1, and then he'd do some trick.
You get change for $1.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
and
my $1.
all that business, and then
Yeah.
he'd give him back 98 cents or something.
Yeah.
He
So
was
it was-
always ripping him off.
Yeah, it was. You always felt sorry for him, for Costello, because Abbott's just too
I always
slick.
wished as a kid that he got another partner. I didn't like Abbott. Didn't like him at all.
Actually,
He just seemed like he didn't have that sort of charisma.
yeah, he didn't appeal to be a friend of
No, I mean,
Costello's.
but
He wasn't supposed to have charisma.
No, he's a straight man,
Yeah.
and he did. As an adult, I realised how good he was. But it's just that,
You feel sorry
he
for
got slapped
Costello.
around a lot. I hated that. He just slapped his face for, We were just getting out. I mean, in my day, we used to get the cuts for answering back or anything. They'd strap you at school. And, you get occasional slap over the face by all sorts of people,
Really?
especially adults.
Oh, it never happened to me.
And the only people who slapped me in the face when I got older were women.
I used to get the cuts from school, and was a very used to really make my father very, very angry. He used to take he used to come into the school. There was one time where he came into the school and the deputy principal, because the principal never caned me, he never caned anyone, didn't like it, didn't believe in it. But the deputy principal, as soon as the principal's away, oh boy, the deputy principal, out came the cane and he split the bamboo.
What was the name of this
when
school?
He hit you,
what was the name of this school?
Rose Bay Public.
Okay.
When he hit you, you would bleed. Like he'd whack you on the back of the legs or on the hands or something.
Yeah, the nuns were pretty good at that too.
And when my father found out, he came to assembly. I wasn't there the next day because I didn't want to go to school to get caned. But my father went apparently, and everyone told me, you know what your father did today in assembly? I said, no, what? He came in, waited for the assembly to start. The deputy headmaster was up on the microphone.
And he took over
he
the
walked
mic.
up on the stage and in front of the microphone, so everyone in the thing, if you touch my son again, I'll kill you. And he picked him up because the deputy head was a small guy. My father was small too, but he was a big guy. Yeah. He said, if you ever touch my son again, I'll kill you. And then he put him down, and then that was it. And apparently...
he lifted him up like Darth Vader. He lifted him up like the Darth Vader.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Apparently, I never saw him again because he had a nervous breakdown that day.
Okay. And
not my father, the deputy head.
And after that, no
one got caned.
No one in yeah, but no one in the school bullied you after that.
Well, that's a different story.
Well, I'm asking.
Yeah. We won't talk about bullying.
We won't talk about bullying, okay.
But I want to talk about...
Abbott!
You know, growing up as a kid, watching the Abbott Costello movies on TV, you know, on a Saturday afternoon, was one of the greatest pleasures that I ever had. You know, I just love them. Even the silly ones, you know, about snow or what was the one with the paddle boats? You know, those things. And like hearing, I could never get enough of their routines. I absolutely love them.
Also, he was always he would get all silly over a girl.
Yeah.
But Abbott never did.
No.
Abbott wasn't interested in girls. He was more interested in getting money and gambling and doing deals and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
But you know, in Abbott Costello Meet Frankenstein, there's a lot of banter between between Dracula and Costello, that are really funny.
Is that because they couldn't afford to write scripts or what? Did they ad-lib it?
No, I don't know if they ad-libbed. They may have done a little bit, but it just shows you what a professional Lugosi was, because he never cracked up. He never cracked up. Whereas you could see the tension in a lot of the other actors.
Yeah.
You know, you could see that it's like this. I mean, they're happy to be there, obviously, because it's a big thing for them to be in an Abbott Costello movie, and vice versa. You know, but you could see that the tension's there. That you know, it could crack up at any moment. I wish they had the foresight to keep.
Were they in a film called
bloopers?
Were they in a film called
Buck Privates? Yep.
And was that one of their first films or one of their last films?
I'm not sure.
Because I have a feeling that wasn't. Isn't there a boxing match in it or something?
Yeah, and he wears oversized shorts.
Yeah, and do you know who the referee was in that film?
No.
James Dean.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah.
It's his first film appearance or second film appearance.
Okay, I'll have to have a look.
Yeah, he was the sad sack character, wasn't he?
Yeah.
In that, yeah.
Yeah.
You've got his lip.
So, you know, they... and like you, I didn't like Abbott. I hated him. I thought he was cruel and mean and, you know, unnecessarily so.
Yeah.
So I think most kids had that same... It had that same effect on him, poor old Abbott. Because, you know, I mean, he would have... he outlived Costello. I could just imagine him going to conventions or appearances or something and everyone saying... And here's Abbott from the Abbott Costello. And okay, anybody got any questions? Yeah, what was it like to work with Costello?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I think he had a good sense of humour, so he enjoyed it. And really, his
his timing. His timing was on the money.
Really on the money.
Yeah.
And sometimes Costello, because a lot of the routines were very, very difficult,
and
not
fast.
Physical,
and
fast.
Like who's on first?
Exactly.
I couldn't keep up with it.
Yes, but
I never understood it anyway as a little kid.
No, but you can hear, even today, you can YouTube it, different versions of Who's on First and slightly different, routine. They have slightly different things.
There's a couple of good docos on,
and there's a few times
on
where
YouTube on both of them. You should check it out.
Yeah, there's a few lines that Costello fluffs, and Abbott recovers like that.
Yeah,
and even laughs while he's recovering.
That's right. I remember that. He also slaps him while he's recovering.
Yeah.
Learn the line.
Yeah. And it's like when that happens, this is in front of a live audience, so the audience is in on the joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke. You momentarily step out of the character, so it's breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
And the audience is in on the joke.
They did that a lot.
Yeah.
Because Costello would walk up the camera, I've been a bad boy.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. That's because of their theatrical experience of vaudeville.
Knockabout vaudeville.
Yeah. That theatrical thing gives you that ability to work the audience, like the live component, It's very important for theatre.
It seems like there's a big influence of Jewish comedians that were in vaudeville, who are in vaudeville, and they influenced the type of humour they had and all that stuff,
Well, everybody, it was such an energetic time back then. Everybody had their own shtick, their own style, their own way of doing things.
You had acts where you're doing juggling and sword swallowing and gymnastics,
singing,
and so you just couldn't come in and just tell jokes like they tell today. You know what I mean? You just couldn't do that.
No one could
as
do
you
that.
said, it was energetic.
Too hard. That would be too hard.
It was but it was different. You didn't have stand-ups,
No, No, you don't. No, that's true. But I think there wasn't really a convention of that. No one was used to that, and also it would have been really difficult to do that.
Yeah.
Because that's really swinging on the high wire without that safety net.
That's right.
So the safety net is things that you're familiar with.
Well, it's like, for instance,
you build a trust with
when you
your
work
audience.
with somebody, you bounce off them.
I'm an artist. Why am I talking about live theatre?
No, but you bounce off them.
Yeah.
You and me are bouncing off each other.
Great.
I get your
So
jokes.
who's on first?
I get your jokes when I go home.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Getting into some highlights. You can see while we've been bantering here about talking about nothing, much ado about nothing here.
That's a great play.
I've been trying to build up...
Get stuck into the muscles.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to build up this relationship of light and shade with and texture with the three pencils. The brown pencil to first get all the forms together and establish a hierarchy, beginning to establish a hierarchy of light to dark, right? Using the tone paper as the lightest part of the whole equation. And then with a white pencil and white paint, etc.
You lift it up.
You can punch it out even more.
And
the black pencil push it back even more. And, also create a sense of
And the grey's
drama.
in the middle.
Yeah. So the idea is not to use these things to colour in. Let the grey pencil serve its purpose. It is a colour. So same thing if you're doing it on
with all these drawings you do,
paper, by the way.
you should put out a book of caricatures and call it 1 Degree of Grey or something like that,
Is that a book reference? Is that... I'm not
I love it
familiar
when the
with that.
pencil stops. I love it.
I'm trying
It
to
means
think of
he's
that
thinking.
stupid book that came out, 5 Degrees of Grey or
50.
50 Shades of Grey.
That's the one.
See, I guessed that. I don't even remember it. 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
Okay, well, don't even remember it. So...
It's about S&M.
Is it?
Yeah. Not M&M.
Oh, M&M's. Now you're talking my language.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
How good are M&M's?
Choo-choo bars are the best.
How cheated were we living with Smarties? I'm trying to tell you.
We were.
No, I'm saying that M&M's are far superior to Smarties.
That's right, but every kid could
The mongrels?
spell Smarties, but they couldn't spell M&M's.
No, they couldn't spell M&M's. I like Smarties, by the way. Don't get me wrong. Of course,
No,
Smarties. are
you
good
only like the
Roundtree. Loves
You only like
Roundtree.
the adverts.
I do like the adverts.
Yeah.
When you use animation, animated cartoons to sell,
To flog
they're
something.
really, really powerful.
Yeah.
They're not used a lot because of that power. It's like a
Ah,
secret
the power.
Yeah, it's true because advertisers are scared to use cartoons because they evoke.
We're going to get into mother bashing again. I can
they-
feel it coming in. I can.
Well, they actually say that you're appealing your product to children. You're selling to children by using cartoons, and of course that ignores, Adult Swim and cartoon shows that are specifically cartoons aimed at adults.
I'm pretty sure that Fritz the Cat would have something to.
Yeah, Fritz the Cat.
He'd have something to say about that.
Yeah. So, it's ridiculous. It's not even an argument. It's worth
No, but it's
arguing.
slowly moving away, that one.
I think it will come back. I think because you've got the ability to,
Well, so many people.
what's that
on-
show
on-
like Rick and Morty and things like that,
Well, yeah, but so many sites on Facebook, people use their thumbnail as a cartoon character, and these are adults; they're not
Yeah.
kids.
Wonder who that would be. So, it's part of the part of us, our visual language. We grow up with cartoons. It's part of our culture, and
We all
it's
do our.
really exciting because it could be any, Astro Boy. I grew up watching Astro Boy cartoons. It's not even Australian or Western culture, and yet it's it's part of my culture, part of my childhood.
My eldest son wanted
remember.
to be Astro Boy when he grew up,
Yeah,
and I told him he couldn't be because there's only one Astro Boy. You can't have two. That troubled him for a long time.
yeah. Well, kids like pretending to be things that inspire them. It's sort of a very visceral, tactile sensation of trying to be your heroes. I can't remember whether I obviously played Captain America with a shield and things like that, but
I like how you did
I'm sure other people had
the
purple underwear.
highlights of the skin. They're not just like a line like that. They're very what do you call that? Not
Modelled.
we can't use smudge. We
Three-dimensional.
can't use the word smudge.
Smudge.
So they're modelled. Okay, modelled.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even with the white pencil, you'd use hatch lines. If you use hatch lines, they work better. They just feel better. Now over here,
Better
because
than
he's
some of
quite
the lines
muscular,
used-
his face is very muscular, not pudgy. His face is muscular, so you still have visible signs of the cheekbone where it hits, where the skin reveals the bone structure.
Ah, the reveal.
So make sure that you refer to that, even if you can't see it. It's always present, and it makes the drawing feel correct. Okay, there's a lot of stuff in drawing that is part investigation, but part knowledge of what should be there. What should you look for?
Do you want to talk about, for instance,
Yeah.
you work heavily from the source material. Have you ever drawn without source material?
You mean a caricature?
Yeah. And can you?
Well, strictly speaking, it's not really a caricature then. It's more of a cartoon. So you're relying on
No,
symbols.
but I'm just saying that you, for instance, I mean, that's a great photograph because it's classic, it's iconic. And
well, I
and
enjoy
I'm
it
saying we
learning from-
carry all these iconic images in our brains, all right? And in a way,
cartoon, yeah, but not caricature. Because caricature, I think, you need to have a reference, a starting point from, for the likeness to evolve from.
so if you're stuck on a desert island, you wouldn't do caricature because you wouldn't have source material.
Well, there wouldn't be caricatures. There would be cartoons.
Okay.
You have to stylize them because you're not referring. You can't hold that much memory in your head. You'd have to be drawing the same character over and over and over again.
Well, a lot of people tend to do that anyway, don't they?
Oh, look, if you're doing... One of the things that drove me nuts about politicians was having to do caricatures of them all the time and try to keep it fresh.
Yeah,
I found it
some are
really
almost
hard.
impossible to draw, like,
It's hard to keep it fresh.
yeah.
You always have to... I admired the cartoonist who came up with a symbol almost for the
Well, that's what happened,
politician.
like in Melbourne, when a new leader came along, they all waited till
Someone made a...
Les Tanner
Yeah.
did a drawing of them because Les had a way of sort of grabbing them very early, whereas other people be doing drawing and then finally getting it the way they wanted it. But
yeah, but it's somebody inventing something that's useful.
that's right. It's like for instance, Joe Bianco
Les
Peterson.
Tanner would invent a wheel.
No, but Joe
And everyone said, that's a good wheel, let's use that.
Joe Bianco Peterson was. People drew his nose in all sorts of ways, and then I don't know who did it, but what's that thing that hangs off a turkey's? What is it? What's that thing that hangs off
the
a turkey?
comb or something.
No, but it hangs over
the
their
doodlebug. I don't know.
It hangs over their beak. Well, somebody started.
just thinking
someone drew Joe Bianco Peterson as a turkey. And from then on,
it was there
all over Australia. Everybody drew him with one of that. All the cartoonists drew him with that thing hanging off. But he wasn't always a turkey. He was just standing there in a suit.
Did he explain what it was?
Well, I mean, there must be a name for that sort of thing. The thing that hangs over the.
He must have loved that. Bianchi Peterson must have.
Oh, he
loved
hated
that.
cartoonists. Oh.
No, but he must have loved that idea because that's so clever. I had a caricature bought by, what was the policeman, the head of the police?
Male or female?
In Bianchi Peterson's government.
Oh.
Famous.
Russ Hinds.
Russ Hinds.
Yeah.
Yeah, he bought one. And the police force bought one.
What, for the dartboard?
He loved it. I did a caricature in Penthouse magazine of Russ Hinds, and he loved it.
I remember
and
that.
held it up in Parliament.
Yes.
And he said, "See what I get? See how much I'm loved." And it was him riding a pig, I think. And
or was the pig riding him? You couldn't
no,
tell
he
the
was riding a
difference.
pig.
You
And the
couldn't
pig
tell the
had a
difference.
police hat.
Ah.
Right. Anyway, the Queensland Police Department, the chief of police in Queensland, rang me up and wanted another one to give him as a present. But he said we're a little bit sensitive about being called pigs. Can you have him ride on a horse with a police hat? So I did another one of him riding on a horse with a police hat.
With a pig snout?
No, no, he just got rid of the pig reference.
Can I ask you a personal
And
question?
they sent back
How
a
much did
photograph.
you charge for the caricature?
That is a personal question.
Well, I told you it was a personal question.
I can't remember. Back then it was...
That's a personal answer. You can't remember.
$600.
Okay, well, that's all,
It was an oil painting.
Ah. Well, Russ Hinds was no oil painting from what I remember what he looked like.
I never got a call back from him, but I got a call back from the police commissioner.
Yeah.
So and with the cheque, Thank you so much. Here's a photograph of us presenting it to Russ.
It didn't bounce, did it?
And
the check?
No.
Oh, good.
And
because that was one of the most corrupt periods of. I mean, he was one of the most corrupt people in my memory in politics. Russ Hinds. He was also in charge of horses and roads.
Horse racing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and roads.
Yeah.
And
he was called the Colossus of Roads.
That's right. He had a horse farm somewhere.
Yes.
And it was way up the bush somewhere, and it's all dirt roads. And all around his property, there were made roads, but they didn't go to other made roads. They just went to dirt roads.
Yeah.
And they complained about it. And he said, I've got to look after the horses. We don't want them getting jumped around and knocked around on those horse, what do they call them?
Trolleys?
No, the things they carry them in. Horse...
merry-go-rounds?
No.
I don't know. What are you talking? You're
Those
talking to
big
somebody
things that
whose
they put horses
only
in.
horse reference is Mr. Ed.
Well, brr.
I don't know horses. I don't like horses.
Why?
I got bitten by a horse when I was a kid.
At an early age?
Yeah, and I went for a pony ride, and the pony just stood there for 5 minutes taking a leak. I thought, this is a fun pony ride. I want my money back. This is not what I call fun.
Actually, ponies and horses are very sensitive that you obviously send out bad vibes. That's all I can say.
Or he was in need of a leak.
Okay. Abbott!
He was in need of a leak.
That looks like a Hollywood caricature to me.
This, who's on first, him or this? This is Lou Costello. This is Lou Costello. Lou Costello is one of my favourite
Why don't you do
heroes.
something you've never done before?
Yeah, don't pick it up.
Why don't you put them side by side?
No, I don't want to do
Oh,
that.
go.
No, because we're working on a vertical video
Oh, curses.
as well.
Foiled again.
All right, so this is Lou Costello, this is Frantz Kantor, and I'm here with...
Jim Bridges.
And...
We'll see you...
on the flip side. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.